Ever fantasized about pulling off the perfect heist, that one big score that set you up for life? Well, most of us just leave it at that, a fantasy. But for a select few, that dream became a very real, very Heists reality. Today, we're counting down the 10 largest robberies in history. The only rule for making our list: the thieves had to get away, at least for a little while. No getting caught red. We're talking about professionals who walked away with cash, jewels, art, you name it, without anyone getting hurt. We've even adjusted some of the older hauls for inflation to show you just how massive these scores really were. So get ready, because we're about to dive into the world of legendary thieves and their incredible heists. Starting our countdown at number 10 is the United California Bank Robbery. Back in 1972, a crew of thieves from Ohio, led by a man named Emil Dincio, decided to go big. They rented a vacation townhouse in Laguna Niguel, California, and spent a weekend doing something a little more exciting than sightseeing. They used dynamite to blast a hole in the roof of the United California Bank vault. Inside, they found and looted over 500 safe deposit boxes. The haul, an estimated $30 million. That's over $100 million in today's money. They almost got away with it, but the crew made one fatal mistake. They ran the same exact heist back in their home state of Ohio. The similar style of the robbery tipped off the FBI, who eventually connected the dots and tracked them down. A classic case of getting a little too greedy. Coming in at number 9 is the British Bank of the Middle East Robbery. In 1976, amidst the chaos of Lebanon's civil war, a group associated with the Palestine Liberation Organization, or PLO, saw an opportunity. They decided to hit the British Bank of the Middle East. But this wasn't a simple smash and grab. They blasted through the wall of a Catholic church next door to the bank, gaining access to the vault. Over 2 days, they enlisted the help of Corsican locksmiths to crack open the vault. They made off with an astonishing £25 million in gold, jewels, stocks, and currency. When you adjust that for inflation, we're talking about a staggering £130 million, or well over $160 million today. The stolen goods were so vast, they had to be shipped to Switzerland, and a portion of the profits were laundered through various banks around the world. At number 8, we have the Knightsbridge Safe Deposit Robbery. This one reads like a movie script. In 1987, Valerio Bixi, an Italian playboy and career criminal, walked into the Knightsbridge Safe Deposit Center in London. He was posing as a customer, wanting to rent a safe deposit box. Once inside the vault, he and an accomplice pulled out handguns, overpowered the manager and guards, and put a closed sign on the front door to keep customers out. They then let in the rest of their gang and spent hours breaking into as many safe deposit boxers as they could. They escaped with a haul worth around £60 million. In today's money, that's an incredible £174 million, or over $220 million. Vice fled to Latin America but made the foolish mistake of returning to England to retrieve his beloved fur. He was caught and sentenced to 22 years in prison. Talk about a costly love for cars. Breaking into the 7th spot is the Dar es Salaam Bank Robbery in Baghdad. In July 2007, employees at this private financial institution showed up for work one morning to a shocking scene. The doors were unlocked, the vault was wide open, and all the money was gone. An estimated $282 million had vanished overnight. The prime suspects? 3 security guards who worked at the bank. It's believed they simply loaded the cash into a vehicle and drove off into the night. What is even crazier is that authorities suspected the guards might have had help from police and local militias to get through the numerous checkpoints in Baghdad. It was a massive amount of cash, mostly US dollars, and the perpetrators seemingly just disappeared. It remains one of the most audacious and mysterious bank heists in modern history. At number 6, we have the legendary Great Train Robbery of 1963. This is probably one of the most famous heists of all time. A gang of 15 men, led by Bruce Reynolds, rigged the trackside signals to stop a Royal Mail train traveling from Glasgow to London. They didn't use firearms. The driver was hit over the head with a metal bar. But the gang's plan was to use surprise and numbers. They quickly uncoupled the engine and the high-value carriage, moving it down the line to a bridge where they unloaded 120 mail bags. The total take was £2.6 million. While that might not sound like a lot, Adjusted for today, it's worth over 60 million pounds, or about 75 million US dollars. Most of the gang were eventually caught, including the famous Ronnie Biggs, who escaped prison and lived as a fugitive for 36 years before returning to the UK. Now, for our fifth biggest heist, the Securities Depot robbery. This was the largest cash robbery in British history. In February 2006, a gang kidnapped the manager of the Securities Depot in Kent, England, along with his wife and young son. They held them hostage and used the manager to gain access to the depot. Once inside, they tied up 14 staff members and loaded a truck with 53 million pounds in cash. That's about 92.5 million pounds today, or roughly 115 million US dollars. The gang was highly organized, wearing prosthetics and masks to hide their identities. Despite their planning, several members of the gang were caught, and about 21 million pounds was recovered. But a huge chunk of the money, over 32 million pounds, has never been found to this day. At number 4, we journey into the world of fine art with the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heist. On St. Patrick's Day in 1990, two men disguised as police officers conned their way into the Boston Museum. They told the guards they were responding to a disturbance call. Once incide. They tied up the guards and spent 81 minutes leisurely selecting and stealing 13 priceless works of art. Among the stolen pieces were masterpieces by Rembrandt and Degas. The total value of the stolen art is estimated to be over $500 million, making it the largest private property theft in history. To this day, the case remains unsolved. The frames of the stolen paintings hang empty in the museum as a reminder of the loss, and there's still a $10 million reward for information leading to their recovery. Entering our top 3 is the Citybonds robbery of 1990. A 58-year-old messenger named John Goddard was mugged at knife point on a quiet London side street. But this wasn't a simple street mugging. Goddard was carrying a briefcase containing 292 million pounds in bearer bonds and certificates of deposit. In today's terms, that's an absolutely mind-boggling sum, equivalent to over 650 million pounds or more than 800 million US dollars. Bearer bonds are like cash. Whoever holds them owns them. The police believed the robbery was an inside job and eventually arrested a career criminal named Patrick Thomas. However, the mastermind of the operation, who tipped off the thief, was never identified. It is believed that most of the bonds were recovered after the police and the FBI infiltrated the gang responsible, but it remains one of the largest single thefts ever recorded. Our runner-up at number 2 is the Central Bank of Iraq robbery. Just before the 2003 invasion of Iraq, something truly unprecedented happened. This wasn't a heist with guns and masks. It was a state-sanctioned withdrawal. A handwritten note, allegedly signed by Saddam Hussein himself, ordered the bank to transfer nearly $1 billion to his son, Qusay Hussein. Over several hours, bank employees loaded boxers filled with $920 million in cash into 3 trucks. Qusay and another man oversaw the entire operation and then simply drove away with the money. About $650 million was later found by U.S. troops hidden in the walls of one of Saddam's palaces. However, the remaining $270 million has never been accounted for. It's a heist where the robber was the ruler of the country itself. And finally, the number 1 largest robbery in history isn't about cash, gold, or art. It's about ideas. This is the story of Stéphane Breitweiser, a French waiter and one of the most prolific art thieves the world has ever known. Between 1995 and 2001, Breitweiser stole over 239 works of art from 172 museums and galleries across Europe. He never used violence. He would simply visit small museums during the day, identify a piece he liked, and when the guards weren't looking, he'd slip it off the wall and hide it under his coat. His girlfriend acted as his lookout. The estimated value of his collection was a staggering $1.4 billion. He wasn't stealing for money. He was stealing for passion. He just wanted to own these beautiful things. He was eventually caught, and tragically, in a fit of rage. His mother and girlfriend destroyed much of the stolen art. It was a monumental loss for the art world, proving that the biggest heists are sometimes driven by obsession, not just greed. And there you have it. The 10 largest and most audacious robberies in history. From brute force to clever cons, these stories show just how far people will go for a fortune. What do you think is the most impressive heist on this list? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories.